Welcome, listeners, to the Untitled, as of now, Tom and Andy podcast. And I am Tommy Nicholson, and I am joined by one of my favorite influencers. Is going to be hosting this with me, Andy. Andy, let's give us your name and everything you do.
I am Andy Neal, and thank you so much for reaching out to do this podcast. I am really excited, Tom. What do I do? I am a influencer. I have the dream career of every 20-year-old in LA, and I'm a 41-year-old who lives in rural Southern Oregon. I work with mostly outdoor and plus size brands. Kind of went viral last year on accident after graduating film school, and all my film school professors shake their fists at me because I now make vertical videos instead of movies horizontal on a big screen. So
nice. And your handle is Andy Films and Hikes, right?
At Andy Films and Hikes on YouTube, Instagram, and the TikTok, which I still don't understand, but people follow me there.
That's my goal for next year, is more TikTok.
My New Year's resolution is to begin maybe more on TikTok.
I'm not sure that's a great one, but I'll go with it, Yeah, well, anyway, so we actually don't know each other that well. We've talked on the phone once, but we follow each other, and we've messaged a few. But what drew me to your page is, obviously I'm a big and tall guy, and I've always, my whole life, I've never wanted that to hold me back from anything, or I get very frustrated when there's something I can't do because I'm a big guy. And, your page, you go out on these incredible hikes. I mean, did that come from where you grew up, like the surrounding area? You're like, oh, I should be hiking, or were you just a hiker and just you sussed out these locations?
Oh, God, I grew up in Southern California in Las Vegas. So I was a city kid. I hated the outdoors. So then I married my wife in 2007. She was living in Las Vegas. We were in Las Vegas. She's from Southern Oregon. And in 2007, Las Vegas was not a good time. The housing market was crashing. People were losing their jobs. It was bad. So we decided get a fresh start. We had just gotten married, get a fresh start in Southern Oregon. I had a hard time adjusting to life in Southern Oregon because it was just a small town. I was a pastor at the time, working in churches. So that's a whole other story. But then after leaving that career and my old faith behind, I said, you know what? I love film. I love creating things. I'm going to go to film school at Southern Oregon University. They have a digital cinema program, and got a second degree there, graduated in 2 years. And after I graduated, I was just floundering big time. Didn't know what I wanted to do because I didn't want to move to LA. Didn't want to move to Atlanta. Thought about maybe moving to Portland. And so I just couldn't figure it out. Went to therapy, and my therapist was like, try going for a hike. And I did, and just fell in love with it. Like, it was like, wow, this is like now my personality for the rest of my life. And I had an Instagram account, it was just my name. I literally changed it to Andy, the two things I love, films and hikes. So Andy Films and Hikes, and just changed it to that. Started posting it. And then Columbia started seeing that I was posting. Cause I would, only thing I could wear on hikes, like hiking wear that, wasn't going to, chafe or make me all nasty and sweaty, was Columbia. Only people who had outdoor gear for me. So I would just wear Columbia.
And so the only people that do big and tall outdoor gear, right?
At the time, that's changing.
Yeah. Right.
At the time. So I was just tagging them on Instagram, like, hey, I'm wearing Columbia shirt, Columbia shorts, Columbia hat, all this stuff. And eventually their big and tall head of their big and tall department reached out, was like, hey, we love what you're doing. Love to talk. Start talking. And next thing I know, they're calling me up saying, hey, we're doing this shoot out in the Columbia River Gorge, big promotional campaign. Would you like to be a plus size model? And little did the world know at that point, 2 weeks prior, I had put out into the world, I'm going to pursue plus size modeling. And my first gig ever as talent, because I had done PA work, I had done gaffer work, I had done all kinds of stuff for Kia, and commercials, just trying to get my foot in the door for like local work. My first time ever as talent was with Columbia Sportswear in the middle of behind a waterfall in the middle of Columbia River Gorge, which was interesting because it was 2 days shoot, and I remember like we were done shooting, they were tearing down. I start tearing down C-stands and stuff, and like, no, don't do that. No, you need to sit down over here and wait, and you drink your water. I'm like, but I can help. It was just a weird experience.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, I just kept posting on Instagram, was getting more and more confident. And then one day I, on a whim, posted a video going for a stupid hike for my stupid mental health. And it went viral, 37.4 million views now
Wow.
on Instagram alone. I think it's got 4 or 5 million on TikTok. And then all the brands were like, hey, whoop. I went from 5,000 followers to 50,000. That summer, I had 4 more videos go viral. I went from 50,000 to 150,000. I'm at 200,000 now. And this is what I do full time. It's allowed me some amazing opportunities to do some really cool stuff.
I love the,
Yeah.
that's actually what drew me to you is when I saw the stupid hike for my stupid mental health. And then the video, the audio clip that went viral of this is freaking nature. It's still one of my favorites.
Oh gosh. And that again, that was on a whim. I had my daughter behind me in the thing in the waterfall, and it's like 20,000 people have made videos with that stupid thing.
Dude, it shows so much like raw emotion and like passion for what you're doing. And I think people really respond well to that.
Yeah. I love it. I love what I get to do. And the doors it's opened up, and opening up doors, started opening up doors to me, like within the entertainment industry. In June, I was invited by Disney to go to some screenings and do some stuff with them. And then 2 weeks later, the strike happened, and I couldn't do anything anymore. But I'm excited for what the future holds, and both in plus size fashion, entertainment, and the outdoors. It's been really cool. Being cast probably for some reality stuff or plus size outdoorsy stuff. They've been talking with some people I'm excited for. So
That's
I don't know
great.
what the future holds. But what about you? I mean, you're an actor. I go on your Instagram. You're like, you got pictures with Affleck and all these cats, and you were an AD for a long time.
I like to think that me and Affleck could be cousins. Like I'm a bigger, hairier.
You're from Boston.
Yes.
You're from Boston.
Yeah. Well,
I was gonna wear a Dodgers hat just to spite you today, but
Oh.
I've been holding on to this Columbia Star Wars collab hat forever. I haven't been able to wear it because of the strike and the shirt they sent me. So now that I can wear it publicly, I'm wearing it publicly.
Yeah. Well, most of the Dodgers are made up of ex-Red Sox anyway, so they're like we call them the National League Red Sox, the West Coast Red Sox. So I grew up in a small town south of Boston, about 40 minutes if you follow the coast down, so kind of between Boston and Cape Cod, kind of in the middle there, just north of Plymouth, Massachusetts, and a little town called Marshfield, or as we call it, Marshfield. And my high school had an amazing telecommunications program, and they had cameras you could take out and run around and shoot and editing stuff. And this is in the mid 90s. So we're still talking VHS cameras and tape to tape editing. And I'm so lucky that my town had this. But I really fell in love with filmmaking. I shot a movie when I was 16 for my brother's college course. He had to market a movie, so we shot a quick movie. We wrote it, shot it in a couple hours, and I was such a nerd. I had keys to the high school and the code to get into the alarm to the telecommunications room, so I go there on Saturday to edit this, which was I don't know how many high schoolers go to high school on Saturday to do work, but I was just very passionate about it. And I went to a school called Quinnipiac University in Connecticut, and I was in their communications program. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2003. And, I remember this come to Jesus moment, so to speak, where I realized it was, spring in my senior year. And I'm like, I have to go do something. I'm going to be out of college soon. What am I going to do? I think everyone kind of faces that at some point. And it was like either New York or LA. And the furthest west I'd ever been was like Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, like not very far west. So never really been out to LA. Never really saw the West at all. And so I just decided I wanted to be, there's a great line from Molly's Game where she says, I just wanted to be young somewhere warm. And I think that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go somewhere warm, and while I was young, and run around the beaches of Southern California. So I picked up and I drove out here. I quickly started working as a assistant director, which for a lot of people might not know that term. It's not an assistant to the director or a director's assistant. The assistant director, we pretty much run the set. We're in charge of all the other.
You guys are in charge. The director is not in charge.
Yeah.
He's running lines. He's running lines with the talent. You're dealing with everything else.
So his job is to mold the actors and the dialogue and the shots into the movie. I'm controlling all the crew. So makeup, wardrobe, camera, sound, actors, what time you have to be here, where you need to be, what we're shooting. So I kind of run that. I also I produced my first legit indie film at 22 years old. I was a producer on some low budget movies, but I went in for an AD interview, and the guy says, if you were a producer, would you need to have an office? And I said, no, I just work out of my apartment. And he said, do you want to produce this movie? And I was like, you saw my resume, right? And he's like, yeah. And I said, yeah, sure. If you know what you're getting into, I'm not going to say no. And at 22, I produced my first feature. I don't love producing. I did like it at a younger man. It's a younger man's game and younger person's game. But as I got older, it's a little too much stress. And so I worked as a first AD for 20 years, and I'm in the Directors Guild in the DGA as a first AD, which was quite an accomplishment because it's one of the hardest union guilds to get into. And specifically as an AD, it's actually easy to get, not easy, but it's easier to get in as a director than it is the first AD. We have to qualify all sorts of days and prove paperwork, and it's quite the process. But so I moved out here. I worked as an AD for a long time, and then I was producing a movie for a friend in Ohio. His name's Chad Capper. He was a friend of mine for years, and he asked me to come do this movie called Rotor DR1. And he said, I'm calling you because I know you're not going to quit no matter how crazy this idea is. And I said, well, I'll be that guy that you call that is, up for a crazy idea. But it was like a user generated, like almost live fan fiction. So Chad ran a very successful YouTube channel called Flight Test for drones, and they like to call them. They don't like to call them drones, but I forget what they call them. But he had several 100,000 followers, millions of views on YouTube. So we took that audience and we asked them what they wanted in a movie. And so they came back, and a lot of people said sci-fi. So we said, okay, family-friendly sci-fi. Okay, post-apocalyptic. And we started building the story. And then when we came up with a short script, and then we did casting videos, and we put the 2 auditions up for the lead and let the audience decide which one. It was very cool. Wow. And we can go into that project later because I really do want to talk about it. But to make a long story, not as long as it should be, he asked me to be in a couple scenes, and I was like, Chad, I've never wanted to be an actor. I've been in film at that point 15 years. I can't act. Like, it's not anything I wanted to do. And he just said, well, then fly someone out from LA, because we're in Canton, Ohio, find someone in LA, rent him a car, get him a hotel, pay him per diem. And I know the budget. I was a producer, and I said, never mind, I'll do it. And it was only supposed to be a couple roles, but we shot the movie 12 minutes at a time. Every week we'd shoot 12 minutes, put it on YouTube, and the audience would tell us what they think should happen next. It was a really cool idea. So I thought I was going to be in a couple scenes at the beginning. We all did. So I did, I put on this silk robe, and I was kind of this like big and tall, like Hugh Hefner, post-apocalyptic mafia boss kind of thing. It was awesome. But I loved it. It was the best part of my day and acting. And I was like, all right, well, I'll go back to LA and I'll do this as a hobby. Oh, to not jump the gun. The audience kept writing my character in the whole movie. So I ended up being like the 3rd lead in the thing. And I was fine with it. I loved it. So I go back to LA and I started doing auditions for fun. I really wasn't. And I swear I was not trying to book stuff. I was just having fun going on auditions. I would drive to Hollywood and I'd go do an audition for, a minute and a half with people that you're never going to see again. And you get to go play pretend. You get to be, you get to go be like a child and pretend to be someone else and say different words. And it was, I liked it. And I really enjoyed the auditioning process. But the problem is I started booking things and, all of a sudden I found myself on set and I said, this is crazy. None of these people know I'm not an actor. I know what they all do. I've done almost every job on set. And now here I am as talent. And it's very similar to what you did with the Columbia thing. You want to start breaking C-stands down. They're like, no. We don't want you to start sweating. You're talent, And then one of these auditions was for the lead in a feature film. And I didn't try not to take it too seriously. I just went in and had fun with it. And then I got a call back. And that was when I turned to my partner and I said, I'm nervous. Like this is, and she said, you know what? You got into this for fun. Go and have fun in the audition. It's a callback. They like you. Just go back and have fun. And I did. And a couple weeks later, they called me and I was going to star in a movie, which just blew my mind because at that point, and I still really don't consider myself an actor. It took me a long time to even use that word as something that I do. And so I got a movie called Wade in the Water, which is a great indie movie. I mean, I'm certainly biased, but
I enjoyed it.
We did the circuit.
I watched it on Tubi. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. It's deep. It's not a light casual movie. Yeah. It's if you like indies with intense drama, and it's an acting movie. There's not a lot of action in it. And anyhow, the movie did pretty well. We were in some festivals in 2019 before this, we ever heard what COVID ever was. It was awesome. I was there flying me out to Minnesota for the Twin Cities Film Fest. And we were down in Austin, Texas for that festival, which was just, that was really, really cool. Austin Film Fest is one of the cooler. I mean, it's no South by Southwest, but Austin Film Fest it brings a lot of great filmmakers and writers together. So my whole family, or a bunch of my family and friends, flew out to Austin to see the movie on the big screen, which was pretty dope. But so the movie, did the circuit, a lot of fun. And then it was like, what do we do now? How do we distribute this thing? This, movie was shot for under $100,000.
Wow.
But it looks good.
Yeah.
The director and cinematographer worked at Panavision. So we got free cameras, not free, but in a grant that they had gotten. We had really nice gear and that's what matters, lenses, stuff like that. So then the pandemic hit and everyone was looking for streaming content. No one was filming and everyone was watching. And the Amazon released it on Amazon Prime Video. And, it was so crazy. One morning I wake up and my friend texted me, someone I grew up with, and they said, hey, I'm sure you saw this, but, just in case you didn't. And he sent me a link and it was Stephen King's tweet saying that he watched the movie and liked it. Actually, I have it right here. It says Wade in the Water on Amazon Prime. No big effects, no expensive sets, but two pretty exceptional performances. It's a little movie with a big heart.
Yeah.
It blew my mind that he even saw it. Never mind, picked up his phone and decided to tell people about it. So that was very cool. But after that, I got an agent, my co-star, Danica Gollenbeck, who was incredible in the movie. She would be the other of that two pretty exceptional performances that he said. Her agent, I started talking to, and she signed me. Carrie Macy Talent Agency signed me. And all of a sudden, I guess I was an actor. It was like overnight, this all happened to me. And I'm like, well, now I've started a movie and I have an agent. Like, this is happening. And I got, then I got an audition for a show called Kidding on Showtime. And I watch it and I'm reading it. And I'm like, this is a scene with Jim Carrey. And I was like, that's what I'm auditioning for. This other person written here, this is Jim Carrey's character. And I thought, this is crazy. So I remember this was a self-tape and this was pre-pandemic. And so self-tapes were pretty rare in the industry before, but they existed. And so it was a self-tape and I'd never done anything like that. And so it was, I was driving a cab in the scene. So I just went in my car and I have a little cell phone holder mount and I just filmed it as if he was in the background driving. And so I was playing some of it in the rearview mirror, which you would if you're driving, and just filmed it from there. And then I did like a bad Jim Carrey impersonation for the off-camera lines. Well, it turns out you don't do any of those things. You're not like, my agent was like supposed to be on a plain background or a green screen or a blue screen. You have someone else do the other lines, blah, blah, blah. And she's right. Those are the things. But then I booked it and she said, all right, well, you do you. If that's what, if making you different stands out and getting you the job, then you just do what you want. And so I booked it and got to act with Jim Carrey. Again, I'm walking on set feeling like an imposter.
Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey doesn't know that I'm not an actor. Like I have to act that I'm an actor. I have to pretend to be an actor. Which was a trip, but we had a great time. We did 2 shoot days. We can go into that later. But then I got an audition for This Is Us, and that was an in-person audition. And I went in and I read for one of the roles, and he said, Tom, we really like you. And he said, but in the scene, we already casted a big guy. So we wanted, in the last couple days, we decided the other guy in the scene is going to be big. So we were necessarily this role we want maybe in a smaller person. But he said, would you read for this? And it was a bartender line, role was one line in the same scene, oddly enough. And I was like, sure, and I read for it and then I booked it. And it's like, it's so crazy how something so small and something so fast can change, like to be on This Is Us, like huge credit, it's like to put that on your IMDb. And same thing with Jim Carrey. It's like these decisions happen on so casually, but there's such a big impact on them. But so I started acting, got the agent, and then it's like within a few months, I went from not considering myself an actor to starring in a movie, to doing a scene with Jim Carrey, and to be on national TV, network TV on This Is Us, which is a really beloved show. It all happened very fast. So I've been influencing. My agent kind of talked me into getting on Instagram, which, I was like, I didn't really get it at the time.
But you have a significant following now.
Well, yeah. So that's kind of how this has gotten into it. So I started getting into it and I was trying to find my voice and what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to do. And having things like, after I was on This Is Us, Wade in the Water, that gave me, maybe 1,000 or 2. And then Stephen King tweeting about it, up a couple more 1,000. And then when I was on This Is Us, Justin Hartley commented on one of my posts, and he's got a big following, maybe another 20,000 from that. And then I the Jim Carrey scene, I put that up and tagged him in it, and all the hashtags, and that was a couple more. But the big one I think I'm at 127,000 followers now, and the big one was Tom Segura reached out to my agent looking for a big guy for one of his videos. And it was, I don't know if you're familiar with Tom and Bert's 2 Bears, 1 Cave, but they're fantastic and very, very successful podcast. And they like to make in front of each other. So Tom had Bert's face, unbeknownst to him, kind of scanned in a 3D rendering, not telling Bert what it was for. And we shot this dance video. It was like a clapback that was like back then where clapback videos were a thing. And they put, he always calls Bert fat. Bert's got a little belly. He takes his shirt off and he's a shirtless comedian. Yeah. So he put his face over my body and then as soon as he released that on the podcast, that went up, I don't know, maybe 40,000, 50,000. And Tom said my name a couple times on his podcast, and he's got such a big following that kind of skyrocketed me where I am now. And then that's when I decided to do more big and tall stuff at this point. Now I have enough people paying attention to me. So now what do I want to say? And that's why we're doing this podcast, right? It's I love movies. I love entertainment. I'm on Instagram just like everyone else looking at influencers. And, I've been captivated by, like what you do with the big and tall and some of the stories you say. sometimes I'm like, I get angry, not at you, but these people that, what do you call them? The bros that are giving
Toxic
you a hard
fitness
time
bros,
about
yeah.
your gear, toxic fitness bros, and I can relate to that, right? I mean, everyone thinks they know why you're, they'll
Yep.
tell me exactly why they think I'm my size.
Yep.
It's this, you're not doing this, you are doing this. And in the end, everybody is different. And everyone, everyone's diets, everyone's genes are all different. So and maybe they're right for some people, but there is no magic bullet that's good that's perfect for everybody. So that's why I want to start this podcast, and that's why I want to do it with you, because I'm really into what you're doing with fitness, trying to get people out there and enjoy nature. I grew up on the beaches, south of Boston, as I said, and I love nature. I always need to be near the ocean. Tell me, so your relationship with nature, you got on a little earlier, that you're a city boy, and so once you got out there, like, was it the fitness that you got, like, you felt good after hiking, or is it the things being surrounded by the trees and water, or discovering new places? What is your favorite?
I think it's just the idea of getting out there and just moving my body and being connected to nature. A big part of me going on a hike was, I was a pastor for 15 years. And so my whole life, I thought I had the answers to everything. I thought I had some sort of connection to something bigger than myself. And when my world fell apart and I left, I stopped being a pastor, and, I left, evangelical Christianity behind, along with my wife and my family. I just felt like there was this big, you know, just gaping hole in my life where it's like, I always felt connected to something bigger. And it was this huge existential crisis, and I'm going to therapy, um, dealing with lots of stuff, dealing with the fact, oh, I have an eating disorder. Oh, this is why, dealing with, this is why I am the way I am because of trauma in my life, and dealing with the fact that I've had my whole life thought I had all the answers to everything, and I didn't anymore. And we were talking through different things, and I didn't want to like find another faith. I didn't want to find another religion. And my therapist was literally like, we live in one of the most beautiful areas in the country. Try going out in nature and going on a hike. And I'm like, oh, okay. And just going out there and just, seeing big mountains, big trees. I live, I'm in Oregon, but I lived an hour and a half from the California redwood forest. You know, going out there and seeing trees that are 1,000 years old and that are huge and just ginormous. And I posted this yesterday. Nature is like the one place where bigger is better. And I feel small, and just going in there and feeling small when my whole life, and even when I was running track and field, I was still the biggest guy in the team. I was in the best shape ever, but I was just a big guy, had a little belly. And, I was just big. My whole family's been that way. It's the way I've been my whole life. I've literally starved myself, gone on diet pills, going to the gym 2 times a day, eating less than 500 calories a day, and I still just couldn't get myself smaller. A lot of reasons for that: eating disorders, the fact that I had an undiagnosed celiac disease for 35 years, genetics. Both sides of my family they were big people. We just are. And just going out there and feeling like, wow, like, look at the mountain over there. Look at this tree. Like, I'm standing next to this tree that, has been around since, you know, before freaking, 1,000 years ago, whatever happened 1,000 years ago. It's like, this tree was here. And I looked small next to it. It was like, wow, this connection to nature, and then I'm a part of this. And then realizing, I am nature, you know, and then maybe it sounds kind of hippy dippy granola, but I am nature. I'm a part of this, and I'm a part of this huge, universe, and it just this connection with that. And I just started hiking more and more, getting out in nature more and more, and fell in love with it. And the other thing too is I go to the gym several times a week. And that's the thing. Like, people are like, you need to get off the couch, stop eating the potato chips. I'm like, yeah, well, first of all, I like jalapeno kettle.
You don't know me.
Yeah, you don't
That's
know.
what I say. You don't know me. You
Exactly.
don't know me.
Yeah, you don't know what I do. And and I have these toxic fitness bros accuse me if I'll post from the gym or I post from the trail. Oh, he's just probably gone out there, took a picture, and left. I'm like, no, I'm on the middle of an 8 mile hike. No, I just backpacked 18 miles. No, actually, I'm on, this is leg day for me. I'm not gonna be able to walk
Yeah.
tomorrow. Whatever. Um, and I've fallen in love with it. I've fallen in love with nature, and it's been able to it's provided me a platform. For so long before I found nature, I was trying to do like the YouTuber thing and the influencer thing, and trying to do like I wanted. I mean, this area I live in, Southern Oregon, is amazing for production. If you want to live in a small town, Movie Maker magazine named Ashland one of the best places to live for a filmmaker if you don't want to live in LA or New York. We have the Oregon Shakespeare Festival here, which is the largest repertoire theater outside of New York, um, or west of the Mississippi. We have so many projects and filmmakers who live here. I went to go see Killers of the Flower Moon with a unit production manager who does Belushi's show, Jim Belushi's show, but produces here in Southern Oregon. He does Jim Belushi's show. He does a ton of stuff for Netflix, and another guy who does nature stuff for Nat Geo. So many people here, and I wanted to get into that, and not move to LA, but then I found my own thing, and I just absolutely love it. And now I can use that as a platform to get more into the entertainment industry and do what I love, um, which is really cool. It's been a really cool ride, and excited for the future of what's going to happen next. That's the long and short of it. But yeah, it's
Well, speaking of happening next, so hopefully, we get this podcast off the ground. There's so much I want to talk about in future episodes, and bring in some other digital creators and influencers on Instagram, and interview them. But we need a name.
yeah. We have no name for this
for this podcast. So I've been thinking, but one of the things is, what do we talked a little bit about, we want to talk about film.
Mm-hmm.
We both love movies. We're both, what's the word? Cinephiles.
Yep.
I think is that what it's called?
I don't like the term. It sounds weird.
Yeah. Let's
anytime I say it to my wife,
let's come up with a new name.
I'm like, it does sound dirty.
Yeah. Movie lovers, film enthusiasts. Yeah. So, and television now, streaming it's pretty much just long form film at this point.
Yeah,
some of these streaming shows. And so, those are things I'd like to talk about. What's it, in the future, what it's like to be, to try to lose that toxic masculinity, which I know a lot of people don't like that term, but what does it mean to be a man in this world that's changing for the better?
Yeah.
But what does that mean for us, and how do we change, and how do we become better? So these are all topics that, I'd like to talk about in future episodes. So having said that, what do you got any potential names for the podcast?
I got nothing. We had a Google sheet, didn't we?
We did, but all right. So I was thinking the other day, what about, I like Big Time as a start.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of it. One, and the other thing we want to talk about is being, big and tall, and that world. So, I like the idea of Big Time. There is some podcast called Big Time already, and they have a couple of the Instagram handles, but I was thinking we could start there and build off of that term if you'd like it. But maybe like one of the things was like Big Time XL, or Big Time Entertainment. And that sounds like a production company.
Yeah. That's good.
But, I like the idea of Big Time. Like, we're big time, and we're big, and we're having, but there's a couple others out there. You know what? I probably have the Google Doc up.
I'm gonna finding that right now.
Yeah, let's see.
I wonder what the listeners would think. I mean, it's gonna be hard to launch this without a title, but what would they would think as well, as far as what would be good, because we're covering a gamut of things, but still it's really kind of just being a dude, and being a big dude in this world, that trying to break down barriers, trying to change stereotypes, people's preconceived notions of what it means to be plus size, fat. Let me ask, real quick before I get into that, what do you think about the word fat? It's been a big movement in the plus size community just to use the word fat. And I
Yeah.
go back and forth on it.
It's a pressure point for me. I've never, or very rarely, ever heard anyone use the term fat in a positive manner.
Yeah.
It's always meant to be hurtful, right? I mean, if you want to be polite, and you try and describe it, oh, he's chubby or heavy, but when you call someone fat, it's a dagger that hits me. And I've been a big guy my whole life, and I don't even like to call myself fat. And I don't know why, it just doesn't feel right. It always felt wrong to me, and because it's never used in a positive light. So for me, it's I don't like to, but I understand, and I've seen you use it, and I understand, like, kind of taking the word back, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be what we want it to be, and I appreciate that. But for me right now, still, it sends something through my spine.
Yeah,
that word,
there's so much trauma for bigger people with that word, especially if you grew up being plus size.
Yeah,
and still, I use it myself just to kind of like try to desensitize myself to it. When the toxic fitness bros come in, oh, you're just fat, and I'm like, yes, I am, thank you, and you're skinny, nice to meet you. But at the same time, there's just, and I understand when other plus size people don't like using that term because there's just so much baggage with it still for me to this day.
Yeah.
And I use it to try to get over that, but at the same time I cringe when I hear it. I'm like, and I have a daughter who, she's bigger, she's 10 years old, but she literally looks like an 8th grader. She comes out of her classroom, she towers over them, and they call her fat, and she just hates it. And like that word's still being used today by kids in elementary school. I'm like, ah, damn it! Like, come on, guys, like, can we get over this?
The parents use it, and that's how the kids learn it. And just like any other bad word or way to belittle somebody, it starts with the parents, and if it's still being used there. And one of the things that I actually don't even like to talk about this, but I will share it is, I'm a significantly bigger guy than you. Not that it's a contest, but when I'm at the grocery store, and it's always like a 3 or 4 year old, usually the age, and it's like, look, mommy, he's fat. And it's not the kid's fault.
It's not.
Obviously somebody taught him that. And obviously the kid feels comfortable enough to say to his mom to use that word.
Yep.
Or the other side of it is, he goes, that's a big guy, right? Then you understand, okay, they're teaching this kid and words like that's okay. He's making an
observation.
He's perceiving an observation.
Yeah.
And he's just unfiltered. He's saying that's a big guy. And I always try to do something and say, yeah, I used to play football, the big guys on the TV, the football players, and that usually puts a smile and deep, and that doesn't bother me. But even coming out of a 4-year-old's mouth, and it has nothing to do with the 4-year-old, but the parents that are allowing that word to be used as, it's tough. And it's like, I'm an adult now, and it still stings a little bit when that word hits. So, all right. I do have the sheet up right now.
I just pulled it up here. Go.
So, real men cry. That was something, this going to like what I want to talk about is, that I think what it is to be a man, or really just what it is to be a human being. And that it's okay to cry, because I cry easy when I'm really happy, really sad. It doesn't take much to make me cry. And I used to see that as it was a negative thing growing up. Right? I used to get in trouble.
Yep.
Right? Like, stop crying.
Men don't cry.
And
man up.
Yeah, man up. And man up. What the hell does that even mean? Now I think being a man, or really just a human being, is to be in touch with your emotions and not bottle them up and build them up that turns into anger, or it's understanding your emotions and dealing with them as they happen. I think that's much more evolved.
Yeah, I agree.
As a human being is so that was one of them. I think you had one.
I put Big Energy.
Big Energy. Yeah. I like that.
To stop playing off the
and then
song.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. It took me a second, but Big Dude Energy.
Yeah, Big Dude. I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I want to add that.
Ooh, Big Dude Energy. The Big Difference, you know. The Big Break. Big Boys Do Cry. It's from that song, Big Girls Don't Cry. You know that song? Big Girls. No, it's an old from the 70s. They don't cry. They don't
Our
cry.
producer votes for Big Dude Energy. Our producer
Big Dude Energy. I like it. All right. Well, I say let's come up with top 3. And maybe the listeners, you guys can, comment and say what you like. But I'll say, all right, so Big Dude Energy for sure. I'm glad we came up with that. That's, should we just call it that? I mean,
I like it. Let it percolate a little bit. I like it.
All right, so Big Dude Energy.
But that's not to say like we won't have women on the show as guests either. We definitely will.
Yeah. Big Dude Energy, but it's our Big Dude Energy, so it's not necessarily the guests. So, Unmanned Podcast, no, Big Change. All right, so I'm going to say I like Big Dude Energy. Yes, our producer is explaining the reference on the play of yes. Our producer Will Nicholson.
We're switching out another word that starts with D.
Yeah, Big Dude Energy. So, all right, so Big Dude Energy. I like Big Time Pod or something like that.
Yeah,
and maybe something that is like film or entertainment related, like
oh yeah, good. I got nothing.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe the listeners can come up with something, but I'm feeling pretty good about Big Dude Energy.
I like it.
All right. Well, listeners, please comment anything you want in there about our title, about us, what you want to hear about future episodes. But I think this is going to wrap up our first episode of potentially the Big Dude Energy podcast.
See if we can find that on Instagram and get that handle now.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'll do the Gmail. You do the Instagram. We'll get it all together. And so we're going to be working on that. Well, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank our producer, Will Nicholson, who is keeping us sounding good and looking good. Andy, I'm very excited about continuing this podcast with you. And, everyone look out for our next episode and follow us on all the socials.
Where can they follow you on the socials?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I am Big Tommy Nicholson on Instagram. That's my main social. I changed my name a few times. So I'm like, what is it? Yeah. Big Tom, letter E Nicholson. My middle initial is E. But you can call me Tommy also. But Big Tom E Nicholson, on Instagram. That's my page.
And I am at Andy Films and Hikes on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And also I'm going to just drop this now. I've been waiting to do a Instagram just film review channel, and it's just at Andy C's Films, where I'll just do 90-second film reviews. So catch me there, but Andy Films and Hikes is the main place you can catch me. And
and we'll link all this stuff in our bio. So if you want to follow us, we appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, and I like where this is going.
Yes. Well, listeners, be kind to each other, be good to the planet, and be good to yourself, most importantly.
Awesome.
That's all I have to say. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.